Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving deep into the world of the ENFP personality type.
Oh, yeah, those ENFPs.
Sometimes known as the champion,
Mm-hmm.
the imaginative motivator,
Okay.
or the campaigner.
Right.
They're known for their energy, their warmth, and their passion.
I think what I find so fascinating about ENFPs is that they just have this incredible zest for life. You know?
Right.
They see the world as this like big adventure waiting to happen,
Yeah.
full of possibilities.
So ENFP stands for extroverted, intuitive feeling, and perceiving.
Right.
What does that actually mean?
So when we break it down, it's actually pretty simple.
Okay.
Extroverted meaning that they gain their energy from being around other people. Intuitive meaning that they focus more on ideas and concepts rather than just facts and details.
Gotcha.
Feel meaning that they make decisions based on their feelings and values. And perceiving meaning that they prefer to be spontaneous and flexible rather than, plan things out.
Okay, so they're the life of the party,
Yeah, you could say that.
but there's got to be more to it than that.
Oh, absolutely. There's a whole lot more to it.
So what about these cognitive functions that we hear about with personality types?
So cognitive functions are basically the underlying processes that make up our personality.
Okay.
And for ENFPs, their dominant function is something called extroverted intuition, or knack for short.
Yeah, got it.
And this function is all about seeing patterns and possibilities everywhere.
Okay.
It's like they have this radar for spotting new ideas and connecting seemingly unrelated concepts.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're really good at brainstorming, coming up with innovative solutions,
Makes sense.
thinking outside the box, that kind of thing.
That's why they're so good at, coming up with those new adventures all the time.
Exactly.
So that's their dominant function.
Right.
But what about the other functions?
So their auxiliary function. The second most important one is introverted feeling, or phi.
Phi.
And this is like their moral compass. It guides their decisions based on their personal values. So they have this strong sense of integrity. They're very authentic.
I see.
And they're very driven by what they believe in.
So it's like this balance between kind of exploring those new possibilities, but also staying true to themselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a dance between those two functions.
Interesting. So we got Ni and Phi.
Yes.
What are the other two?
Okay, so their tertiary function is extroverted thinking, or te.
Gotcha.
And this function helps them organize information logically, make plans and kind of get things done in the real world.
Right.
And then their inferior function is introverted sensing, or C.
Yeah.
And this one is all about connecting to the past, their experiences, their memories.
Got it.
And it can sometimes create an interesting conflict with their dominant Ni.
Conflict. Tell me more.
Well, because Ni is all about future possibilities, right? And C is grounded in the past.
Okay. So they can sometimes feel pulled between these two forces, like, should I stick with what's familiar and comfortable, or should I go out and explore something new?
Wow, that's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it is.
So we've talked about cognitive functions, but I think it's also important to talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses that come with being an ENFP.
For sure. For sure.
What are some of their biggest strengths?
Well, I think one of their biggest strengths is their enthusiasm.
Oh, okay.
It just brings so much energy and passion to everything they do. It's contagious,
Yeah.
They're also incredibly creative. They're always coming up with new ideas, and they're not afraid to think outside the box.
Makes sense.
And they're fantastic communicators. They can connect with people from all walks of life, and they really know how to tell a story.
So those are some of their strengths. But what about some of their weaknesses?
Well, one of their weaknesses can be their dislike for routine.
They thrive on novelty and change, so when they're stuck doing the same thing over and over again, they can get bored really easily.
I can see that.
Yeah, and this can lead to procrastination and disorganization.
Right.
They can also be prone to emotional ups and downs. They're very sensitive and empathetic, so they could be easily affected by the emotions of others.
Okay.
And sometimes they might have a hard time setting boundaries.
Interesting. So it sounds like their strengths can sometimes also be their weaknesses?
Yeah, you could definitely say that.
Now that we've talked about some of their general characteristics, let's move on to relationships.
Okay.
How do ENFPs approach love, friendships, and family?
Well, when it comes to relationships, ENFPs are all about passion and connection.
Oh.
They're looking for partners who can keep up with their energy, their enthusiasm, and their thirst for adventure. They're very supportive and encouraging partners, and they're always up for trying new things.
They're very romantic.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I imagine there were some challenges that come with that as well.
Well, one challenge can be their idealism.
Okay.
They have this tendency to romanticize their partners, and they might overlook red flags early on in a relationship.
I see.
And they also have a strong need for freedom and independence.
Right.
So they need a partner who understands that and gives them the space to be themselves.
So it's about finding that balance between connection and freedom.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really important one for ENFPs.
Now, what about friendships?
ENFPs are the best friends you could ask for.
Really?
They're loyal, they're supportive, they're always there to listen, and they always know how to make you laugh.
Okay.
They're also really good at bringing people together.
Mm-hmm.
They love connecting with others, and they're always up for expanding their social circle.
So they make friends easily.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now, how about as parents?
As parents, ENFPs are very nurturing and fun-loving.
Mm-hmm.
They want to create a home that's full of joy and creativity,
Yeah.
and they're really good at encouraging their children's individuality.
But are there any shots?
Well, because they dislike routine so much,
Right.
they might struggle with things like discipline and structure,
Okay.
and they can also be a little bit inconsistent with their parenting style.
I see.
But overall, they're really great at creating a warm and supportive environment for their children.
Okay, so we've talked about love, friendships, family.
Yep.
Let's move on to careers.
Sounds good.
What kind of work do ENFPs usually gravitate towards?
ENFPs thrive in careers that allow them to use their creativity, their passion, and their people skills.
Mm-hmm.
So they often excel in fields like counseling, teaching, journalism, writing, anything that allows them to express themselves and connect with others.
So those are some of the careers they're naturally drawn to.
Yeah.
But are there any work environments that they might struggle in?
Yeah, I mean, if they're stuck in a job that's too rigid or routine,
Okay.
they're going to get bored really quickly. They need a job that allows them to be creative, to think outside the box,
Right.
interact with people, to feel like they're making a difference.
So basically, they need a job that aligns with their values and their personality.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a really interesting exploration of the ENFP personality type.
Yeah, it has.
We've talked about their cognitive functions, their strengths and weaknesses, their relationships, their careers.
Uh-huh.
And I think we've just scratched the surface.
Oh, there's so much more to discover. I can't wait. So we talked about, all the different pieces that make up an ENFP.
Yeah.
But what I really want to get into now is like their motivations, you know?
Right. Like what makes them tick? What are they all about?
Exactly. Yeah. And one thing that really stands out is their deep need for authenticity.
Okay.
Like they really value being true to themselves. And they encourage that in others too. They want everyone to embrace their individuality.
So authenticity is a big one.
It is. And they're also very driven by a desire to make a positive impact on the world.
Okay, so they want to leave the world a better place than they found it.
Yeah, exactly. They're very idealistic in that way.
Which makes sense, given their passion and their energy.
Right. They have this kind of inner fire that fuels them to make a difference.
So we see this play out in their careers a lot of times.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're drawn to careers where they can help people, where they can be creative, where they can express themselves.
Right, so it's not just about a paycheck for them.
No, it's about finding work that aligns with their values.
With their purpose.
Exactly.
But, the world can be a tough place.
It can be.
How do they maintain that idealism, that optimism in the face of, all the challenges that life throws at them?
Well, that's a good question, and it's something that they definitely struggle with at times. They're not naive. They see the bad things happening in the world,
Right.
and it affects them deeply.
Because they're so empathetic.
Exactly. They feel things very intensely. But I think what helps them stay optimistic is their belief in the power of human connection.
Okay.
They really believe that we can make a difference, that even small acts of kindness can ripple outwards and create positive change.
So they find hope in connection and community.
Yeah, and they're really good at building those connections.
Right, they're those people who can walk into a room and just light it up.
Yeah, exactly. They have this magnetic energy about them.
But even the most extroverted people need time alone.
That's true.
Do ENFPs need that too?
They do. They definitely need time to recharge, to process their emotions, to kind of reconnect with themselves.
So it's about finding that balance again, right?
Yeah, always finding that balance.
Between the outer world and the inner world.
Exactly.
Now let's talk a little bit more about relationships.
Okay.
We touched on this in part 1, but I think it's worth diving a little deeper.
Agreed.
So we talked about how ENFPs are very passionate when it comes to love.
Yeah, they go all in.
They do. But can that sometimes be a problem?
Well, it can be if they let their idealism get the best of them.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, they might idealize their partner, overlook their flaws
Right.
and then end up disappointed when things don't live up to their expectations.
So it's about tempering that idealism with a little bit of realism.
Yeah, exactly. It's about finding that balance again.
We keep coming back to balance.
It's a theme.
It is, for sure. And we also talked about their need for freedom.
Yeah.
How does that play out in a relationship?
So it's not that they don't want commitment.
Okay.
They do. They just need a partner who understands that they also need their own space.
To explore, to grow.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not just talking about physical space.
Right.
They need emotional space too, the freedom to be themselves, to pursue their interests, to have their own experiences.
So it's about respecting each other's individuality within the relationship.
Exactly. And the cool thing is they encourage that in their partners too.
Mm-hmm.
They want their partners to grow and evolve and become the best versions of themselves.
So it's a very supportive dynamic.
It can be, yeah.
ENFPs having the strong artistic side.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it goes back to their need for self-expression.
Okay.
They have all these ideas, all these emotions,
Right.
and they need an outlet for that.
Makes sense.
And art, whether it's music or writing or painting or whatever,
Yeah.
it gives them that outlet, a way to communicate what's going on inside of them.
So they're natural storytellers.
In a way, yeah, they have a knack for capturing the human experience.
And sharing it with the world.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of sharing things with the world,
Yeah.
let's talk about ENFPs as parents.
Okay.
What are some of the unique challenges and joys that they bring to the parenting table?
Well, as we mentioned before, they're really good at creating a fun and stimulating environment for their kids. Their homes are often full of laughter and creativity. They're very nurturing, and they encourage their children to be themselves.
But what about the challenges?
Well, their dislike for routine can make things a little chaotic at times.
Right.
And their idealism can sometimes clash with the realities of parenting.
How so?
Well, they might have these grand visions of how their children will turn out and then get frustrated when things don't go according to plan.
I see.
So it's important for them to remember that children are individuals with their own personalities and their own paths.
So acceptance is key.
It is, and flexibility.
Yeah.
You got to be able to roll with the punches when you're a parent.
For sure. Now, despite those challenges, what are some of their strengths as parents?
I think one of their biggest strengths is their ability to connect with their kids on an emotional level.
Okay.
They're not just authority figures.
Right.
They're friends, they're confidants, they're cheerleaders.
So they create a very supportive environment.
They do, and they also instill in their children a sense of wonder and possibility.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Now I want to shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about how ENFPs have shaped our world.
Okay, interesting.
So throughout history, there have been many famous ENFPs
Right.
who have made significant contributions in their respective fields. What are some examples that come to mind?
One example is Mark Twain.
Okay, the author.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was known for his wit, his humor, his ability to capture the human experience.
Yeah, and his work is still relevant today.
It is.
Which is amazing.
It is. And then you have someone like Walt Disney,
Oh, wow, okay.
who brought us, so much joy and imagination through his films and his theme parks.
Yeah, he was a visionary.
He was. And his ENFP personality is evident in everything he created.
That's so cool. So we see ENFPs in the arts.
Yeah.
But what about other fields?
Well, you also have people like Joan Baez.
The singer?
Yes. Folk singer and activist.
Right.
She used her music to fight for social justice, to give a voice to the voiceless.
Powerful.
Very powerful. And then you have Che Guevara,
Okay.
who was a revolutionary. Right.
Who fought against oppression.
So we see ENFPs in activism as well.
We do. Yeah. They're not afraid to stand up for what they believe in.
Now I'm curious
Yeah.
about how ENFPs navigate the digital world,
That's a good question.
with social media and artificial intelligence and all these new technologies emerging.
A whole new landscape.
It is. How do they fit into that?
Well, I think they're drawn to the potential of technology,
Okay.
to connect with people, to share ideas, to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also aware of the pitfalls.
Right, like the potential for addiction, the comparison trap.
Yeah, all of that. So it's about finding that balance again.
Always back to balance.
It's a recurring theme for sure.
It is. So they're using technology as a tool,
Right.
but not letting it control them.
Exactly.
Now, before we wrap up this part,
Yeah.
I want to share a few more fun facts about ENFPs.
Okay, I'm listening.
So one thing that's often said about them is that they're restless.
Okay.
They have a hard time sitting still for too long.
They're always looking for new experiences, new adventures.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And this can be both a strength and a weakness.
How so?
Well, it can make them very spontaneous and fun to be around,
Right.
but it can also make it difficult for them to focus and follow through on things.
So they need to find ways to channel that energy.
Exactly. And another interesting fact is that despite their extroverted nature, they can sometimes struggle with self-confidence.
Really?
Yeah, it might seem surprising,
It does.
but it's true. They can be very self-critical,
Okay.
and they might worry about what others think of them.
So even though they appear confident on the outside,
Yeah.
they might be dealing with insecurities on the inside.
Exactly. And finally,
Yeah.
ENFPs are often drawn to careers that involve helping others.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
They have this natural empathy, this desire to make a positive impact.
Right.
So they often find themselves in roles like counseling, teaching, social work, healthcare. It's like they have a calling to serve.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that's just a little glimpse into the world of the ENFP.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, but there's still more to explore.
Always. Yeah, it really is like peeling back those layers. You know, you never know what you're going to find.
Exactly. And with ENFPs, it feels like there are just endless layers to uncover.
Right. I mean, even though we've talked about so much already,
Yeah.
there's still so much more to each individual ENFP, you know?
Right. It's not like everyone who fits under that label is exactly the same.
Oh, absolutely not. There's so much variation within personality types.
So how does knowing your type help you as an ENFP?
Well, I think it can be really empowering, you know?
Right.
When you understand your strengths, you can really leverage them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're aware of your weaknesses, you can start to work on them.
Right. So it's not about limiting yourself.
No, not at all. It's about maximizing your potential.
And that goes for all of us, really.
It does, yeah. No matter what your type is, understanding yourself better can only be a good thing.
Absolutely. And one thing that I've always loved about exploring personality types is the quotes.
Oh,
You
good
know,
quotes, yeah.
There are so many great ones out there that perfectly capture the essence of each type.
Right. And for ENFPs, there are some really inspiring ones.
Do they come to mind?
Well, one of my favorites is, do not follow where the path may lead, go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail.
Oh, love that one.
Yeah, it really speaks to their adventurous spirit.
Right. Their desire to forge their own way.
Exactly. And it's a good reminder for all of us to, you know, not be afraid to step outside of our comfort zones.
To be pioneers?
Yes, exactly. To blaze our own trails.
And what about this one? Turn your wounds into wisdom.
Oh, yes, that's a powerful one.
It speaks to the resilience of the ENFP.
Right. Their ability to take those difficult experiences
Yeah.
and learn from them.
To grow from them.
Exactly. To turn that pain into something positive.
Okay, one more.
All right, shoot.
The most beautiful discovery true friends make is that they can grow separately without growing apart.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. And it really speaks to the ENFP's deep capacity for love and connection.
Yeah, their ability to maintain those strong bonds even as they're constantly evolving.
Right. Because they understand that growth is essential.
And they want their loved ones to grow too.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of the ENFP.
Ah, what a journey it's been.
It has. We've learned so much about their cognitive functions, their strengths and weaknesses, their relationships, their careers, their impact on the world.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Right. But I think we've gained a much deeper understanding and appreciation for these complex and fascinating individuals.
Definitely. And hopefully our listeners have too.
Yeah. And whether you're an ENFP yourself or you just know someone who is,
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest takeaway is to embrace individuality,
Right.
to celebrate what makes each of us unique.
Exactly. And to remember that connection is key.
Yeah, that we all need those meaningful relationships in our lives.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting.
See you then.